So it's going to be at the end of June where we know more exactly
Yeah.
on the specifics, on the details. You pay special attention to the movement of those insurgent forces in the north. France has scored victories on the battlefield at times, but there's the sense you're saying that the north right now, as it stands under the current setup, is unwinnable?
Well, actually, the president said a sentence which is very telling. He said we cannot replace states that don't want to do the job on the ground. Meaning that we know that today in some parts of Mali, Sharia is being implemented de facto. So you cannot have French presence there in order to push a state, to hold up a state after two coups, and then at the same time have jihadi factions free to move and to apply Sharia on local populations. But on the other hand, it's the end of Barkhane, indeed, but it doesn't mean it's the end of French presence. It will be less boots on the ground. We are talking about the north. We suspect at least that bases in Gao, Kidal, and bases in Kidal, Tessalit, and Tombouctou will be evacuated. More concentration on Gao and on central Mali for one specific reason is that it's happening on the three border region now. And what is to be prevented is a junction between the Islamic State jihadis in the Lake Chad area and Islamic State jihadis in the Sahel area, which
all
could
those
happen
cities you
in
mentioned,
Niger.
all those cities you mentioned in the north of the country, are you effectively saying that the idea is to abandon the north?
Well, actually, France cannot keep playing the role of the Malian state in the north because the Malian state isn't present in the north. So there's no point in having French military there. If we have a map, we can see where those cities are, and we can see all the French operations and all jihadi operations since January 2018, and it will be much telling about the situation, the aggravation of the situation. Here's the map. So we have operations from January 2018 till January 2021, and you see the bases of Tessalit, Kidal, and Tombouctou, and you see that the concentration of jihadi action, which is like the oil spot, more and more increasing in the center and in Burkina Faso and Niger. So the jihadi activity and military activity too. So there's no point today in being in the north, since one more time the Malian state isn't willing itself to be in the north.
Very briefly, he mentioned in his press conference that France would still be at the core of operations militarily,
Yes.
and you would have special forces, including European special forces.
We actually have SABR, which is French special forces, and we have Takuba, European special forces with Estonians, with Danish forces that might come, and other forces. There'll be a concentration on them, but not only. There'll be also helping special forces in the region, local special forces. We know that from in the last days, there was a decree in Burkina Faso, for example, for the creation of special forces, which they didn't have. So France will be part of this creation of new special forces who will be capable to act on the spot and in a very specific and very efficient way. That's what they hope.
Fighting jihadists, not carrying out coups.
We can imagine that, and at least we'll have less French presence, boots on the ground, and less French forces will be targeted, and France will be less accused of being the colonial mandatory power there. So the responsibility will be upon local states, and one more time, especially in the three border region.
All right, many thanks for that. Wasim Nasser, who's monitoring it all for us.